Hey everybody, let's greet each other properly. Good morning. It's Mr. Ainsworth, and we're going to get into your homework here on lessons 1 and 2 with negative exponents and all their properties. Okay, we're going to start off with real numbers here, and then we'll switch to exponents in the next set. All right, so here we go. Left plenty of room to step it out, so we're going to step everything out, as I always say in class. All right. And also get a red pen out if we need to annotate things. Get your red pen out for annotating, all right, and do your best. Remember, this is a video, so what I want you guys to do is pause when you need to, all right, press play, and if I go too fast, all right, rewind it, okay? Never hurts to listen to things twice. So use your video to your advantage, all right? Pause, play, and rewind. Here we go. One of the ways out of many that you can handle something like this is work inside the parentheses first, all right? So one thing that we can do is look down here in the denominators, and I know that when you multiply like variables, you add exponents here. So look here, you want to add their exponents. Let's go for it, okay? So I got 2 divided by, negative 3 plus negative 4 is negative 7, so 2 to the negative 7 power. So add their exponents first when you multiply like variables. Next, I got to divide like variables. I have 2 to the first divided by 2 to the negative 7. Well, what would this be? Well, when you divide like variables, you subtract their exponents. So this is 2 to the power of 1 minus a negative 7, which you guys know is 8. So this is 2 to the 8th power raised to the negative 1. What's that? Well, now we got to switch rules. We got power to a power. You multiply the exponents there. All right, power to a power, you multiply. Power to a power, multiply exponents. Now, by the way, that reminds me, if you have your lessons out side by side and your notes out, that'd be good too. I think it's the third rule on page number 1 in your first lesson. Power to a power, you multiply exponents. 8 times negative 1 is negative 8, so you get 2 to the negative 8 power. All right. Now, switch to lesson 2. When I say that any number raised to a negative power, you got to switch in the denominator, because right now it's in the numerator. Let me show you right there. So what does it want to do? It wants to jump down low. So you rewrite it as 1 divided by 2 to the 8th, and then you got to figure that out. Well, what is that? Well, let's see here. Let me see. 2 to the 8th power. All right. So what do we have? We have 2 times 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 2. Let's count them. There's 8. All right. You get 4 times 4, 16. 4 times 4, that's 16. What do you get? 256. 16 squared is 256. I know that by heart. Do you? 16 squared is 256. All right, so you could do it like that, or you can double 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. That's 2 to the 4th, 64, 128, 256. All right, 2 to the 8th power, 2 to the 1st, 2 to the 2nd, 2 to the 3rd, 2 to the 4th, 2 to the 5th, 2 to the 6th, 2 to the 7th, 2 to the 8th. All right, and that's what we're looking for right there. Going back to basics. All right, so we have 1 divided by 256. And there we go. Now our directions say simplify and write your answers using positive exponents. Well, that is right here, right? But I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to simplify it. How do you do that? Well, I showed you on the previous page. All right, when you multiply 8 2's together, you get a big number. It's called powers of 2. We're doubling. 2, 4, 8, keep on doubling. Times 2. Times 2, and you keep on doing that all the way down until you get to the 8th. So do your side work. All right, have your paper out to the side and do some side work and get your results. That's how they're all done here, okay? And you just have to play with it and get good at it. All right, one more time. Now, if you think you got it down now and you think you can handle this, pause it right now, okay? Pause it. Work it out and then play. All right, pause and play. All right, so let's work in the denominator. When you multiply like variables, you add their exponents. So you get 2 to the negative 5. Okay, so let's continue where we left off here. Let me see, we're multiplying like bases. We add the exponents here. Now we are dividing like bases. Okay, so what do? Well, we subtract exponents, right? So we take 2 to the power of 1 minus a negative 5. We know that is 1 plus 5, or 6. So this is to the 6th power. What is that? Well, let me see. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. To the first, to the second, to the third, to the fourth, to the fifth, to the sixth. To the 6th power. So 64. Okay, so there you go. You just step it out, man. It's not that hard. Okay, let's try it again. Let's go down to number 3. Okay, looking in the numerator, right? Now, once again, this is a video, right? So you can pause it. If you think you know what you're doing, pause the video, and then when you're ready, press play, because this is a pause and play video, right? When you multiply like bases, you add their exponents, right? So we have 2 to the 4th times 2 to the negative 3 power. That's 2 to the 4 plus negative 3. All divided by 2 to the negative 1, right? So you add 4 and negative 3, that's 1. So we have 2 to the 1st divided by 2 to the negative 1. That is not 1, by the way. Okay, so you can't just divide and get 1. So what do? Well, you subtract exponents, right? Because when you divide like variables, you subtract. So we have 2 to the power of 1 minus negative 1, all raised to the 3rd power. Notice that I'm staying inside the parentheses here. 1 minus negative 1 is negative 2. So 2 to the negative 2 power, raised to the 3rd. What is that? Well, we have now power to a power, right? You multiply exponents. So here you multiply exponents because you have a power to a power situation, and that's 2 to the negative 6. Then you rewrite 1 divided by 2 to the 6th power, and as we just discussed earlier, that's just 64. So this is equal to 1/64. It's a fraction. And that's how it's done. All right? You just simplify and go step by step. Thank you, dear. So on the number 4 here, let's start off with the numerator, right? Power to power, you multiply exponents. So what do? You have a negative 4 times 3 is negative 12, right? So you have 2 to the negative 12 power. Here in the denominator, you're multiplying bases. Right here, you're multiplying, right? So you add exponents, right? So 1 plus negative 4 is negative 3. So you have 2 to the negative 3 power. So you have 2 different rules all in one here. You got power to power, and you multiply exponents. You're multiplying like bases here, so you add exponents in the denominator. Now you have the 3rd rule, is that when you divide like bases, you subtract the exponents. So this is 2 to the power of negative 12 minus a negative 3. What is that? Well, let me see. You add the opposite right here. Boom, boom, right there. I saw a double negative. Negative 12 plus 3 is negative 9, so you have 2 to the negative 9 power. Then you have the next rule, is that since you have a negative exponent here, you shift it to the denominator, so you have 1 divided by 2 to the 9th. So let's continue on that. So on the previous one, 2 to the 6th is 64, so you double that, 128. All right, double that, 256. This is 2 to the 7th, this is 2 to the 8th. To the 9th, you multiply this by 2, you get 512. So if 2 to the 9th is 512. So you have this whole expression is equal to 512. Excuse me, 1 divided by 512. And there you go. It's a small fraction, 1/512. Very, very small number. Okay, now like I said, this is a video, right? So you can pause, play, and rewind if you want to see that again. Okay, number 5. Starting in the numerator, so let's do that. All right, so here we go. Multiply like bases, you add your exponents. So since 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1, you get 2 to the negative 1 power, divided by 2 squared. Staying inside, let me see, we subtract exponents here, because when you divide like variables, you subtract the exponents. So this 2 to the power of negative 1 minus 2. That's 2 to the negative 3 power, raised to the negative 1 power. This power to power, you multiply exponents here. Power to power, you multiply. Negative 3 times negative 1 is 3. 2 cubed, well, that's 8. Why? 2 times 2 times 2 is 4 times 2, which is 8. Okay, 2 cubed is 8. And that's how it's done. Just kind of play with it. You have 2 to the 4th raised to the 3rd. You got power to the power. Multiply exponents right there. 2 to the 12th. Here you got a different rule. 2 cubed times 2 squared. Well, you're multiplying bases, so you add their exponents. So you have 2 to the 3 plus 2, or 2 to the 5th. So you have 2 to the 12th divided by 2 to the 5th. And here you're dividing like bases, so you subtract the exponents. So 2 to the 12 minus 5. What's that? 2 to the 7th. Okay, now what is that? Well, let's go back up here. 2 to the 6th is 64. 2 to the 7th is 128. This is 128. And you simplify it. All right. And that's the whole game. You just got to play with it and have fun with it. Here you're multiplying bases, so you add your exponents, right? Add exponents. So 2 to the 4 plus negative 1, or 2 to the 3rd. Here you have a power to power, so you multiply your exponents. So 2 to the negative 3 power. Right here is a power to power. So, and now you have, you're dividing like bases, so you subtract the exponents. So 3 minus a negative 3. Guys, that's not 0, that's actually 6. When you add the opposite, 3 minus a negative 3 is 6. 2 to the 6th power, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. So 64 here. See, what you want to do is just step it out. All right, everybody say step it out. Okay. So just application of your exponents here. Power to power, you multiply, right? So you multiply right here your exponents. So 2 to the negative 9 power times 2 to the negative 4 power, all divided by 2 to the negative 4 power. Here, anything divided by itself is 1. So I'm just going to cancel and put a big 1 there. So that is equal to, well, right here, right? 2 to the negative 9 power. So what's that? Well, you shift it to the denominator, you get 2 to the 9th. But I think we did that before. 2 to the 9th is 512, right? So this is equal to 1 divided by 512. Okay. So you just have to get some experience, use your rules, use your negative exponents, power to power, and you got multiplying like bases, you got all the rules, and you just put them all together and get good. All right? Same thing here. Now on this one here, you want to multiply like variables, right? So let's regroup right here. Actually, there are no x squareds over up top, so let me just change that. You want to group up these guys right here. You want to multiply like variables. In fact, let me write that down. Multiply like variables. That's what you want to do. So you have 2x squared. Y to the 4th times y squared is y to the 6th, because you want to add the exponents here. All right, here you got a power to power. Okay, what do? Well, you multiply exponents. So you have 4 times negative 4 is negative 16, so you have x to the negative 16 times y to the 2 times negative 4, which is y to the negative 8. Okay, and then you have the 2 times x to the 2 minus the negative 16 times y to the 6 minus negative 8. So again, you're subtracting exponents when you divide like variables. What do you get? You get 2 to the, or 2 times x to the 18th times y to the 14th. When you add the opposite, right here, you add, and you get 14. 6 plus 8 is 14. 2 plus 16 is 18. That's all there is to it. So again, pause and play. If you think you got number 10, pause it and then play it when you're ready. Okay? Otherwise, keep going. Let's keep going. Let's say you're going to multiply like variables. So let's work this here. So you got that 2 there, and you got x to the 4th times x squared is x to the 6th. You have to add the exponents here. You got y to the fourth times y to the negative fourth. You got to add exponents there. So y to the 4 plus negative 4 is y to the 0 power, divided by x cubed times y to the 0 power. Let me see. This divided by this is 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. And then now you got to cube everything. So right here you got to cube all factors. Okay, how do you do that? Well, you got to take the 2 and cube it. Take the x to the 6th and cube it. This is a power to a power. You get x to the 18th power. Then you got to take x cubed and cube it. X to the 9th power. You got a power raised to a power. Power to a power. Multiply your exponents. All right, and then you simplify. 2 cubed, well, let me see, 2 times 2 times 2 is 4 times 2, or 8. So you get 8x to the 18th divided by x to the 9th. And the process continues, guys. You just play with it and have fun. All right, down here you got x to the y to the times y to the negative 2 power. Here you got power to a power. Okay, right there you want to multiply your exponents again, as I keep on repeating myself. 2 to the negative 1 power. X to the negative 4 raised to the negative 1 is x to the 4th times y times x to the negative 1. So down below, let's see, first of all, this right here, this 2 to the negative 1, it wants to go up top because of the negative exponent. X up here has, I'll tell you what, well, let's multiply your like terms. Down here, down below, you got to multiply those two. So let's multiply these two together. And let's shift this up here. So you got 2 shifts up top because it's got a negative exponent, times x times y to the negative 2, divided by y times this. Now, x to the 4th times x to the negative 1 is x to the 3rd. Why? Because 4 plus negative 1 is 3. Okay. Now let's finish. All right. So let's, we got 2, and then we got 1 minus, or x divided by x cubed is x to the negative 2 power. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And then y to the negative 2 minus y, divided by y. You have to subtract exponents, so y to the negative 2 minus 1, which is negative 3. Lastly, you want to rewrite your answers using positive exponents, so you want to shift. So this shifts down below. And because all this is in the numerator, right? So this wants to shift down below, this one wants to shift down below, so we get 2 divided by x squared times y cubed. Okay, you want to rewrite all your answers using positive exponents. Now, this is not the only way you can do this. Just keep that in mind. There's different ways and different ways to teach it, different ways to think about it, but this is only one way of many. So have an open mind. If you want a different approach, let me know, and I'll give you a different approach. Okay. Now inside here, I see m to the 4th right here divided by m to the 4th. Well, first of all, that's 1. And I also see 2 times 2, that's 4. So I'm going to say 4 here. N cubed divided by, I'd say n cubed m squared divided by n to the negative 2. So I'm just going to simplify a little bit. I multiply the 2's, I divide it by m to the 4th. Now I got to take everything to the, actually I'm going to simplify this. Before I raise it to the 4th, I get 4 here, and I got m cubed divided by n to the negative 2. I got to subtract these exponents. All right, 3 minus negative 2 is 5. So we get m to the 5th, m squared, all raised to the 4th. Now I got to raise everything to the 4th. So I get 4 to the 4th, and then I've got n to the 5th raised to the 4th, and then I get m squared raised to the 4th. 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, 16 times 16, that's 256. So 256, power to a power here, n to the 20th, power to a power, m to the 8th. Okay? And that's all there is to it. You can do this differently. You can get to the same result different ways, but that's the idea. Okay, so in the numerator here, I got to take everything to the fourth power. So power to the power, you multiply your exponent. So x to the negative 12. This is 1, so 1 to the fourth is 1. You don't really need to put the times 1 there. You got x, let's see, you got to multiply these two. Those are like terms. So x2 times y to the negative 1 minus the negative 3. I'm going to add the opposite right there. Boom, right there. 3 plus negative 1 is 2. So I have x to the negative 12 divided by x times y squared. So I get x to the negative 12 minus 1, because you got to subtract the exponents when you divide. Divided by y squared. Look at where it is. It's in the denominator. So what does that give me? X to the negative 13 divided by y squared. Okay, this has a negative exponent, wants to shift, so you simply rewrite it as 1 divided by x to the 13th power times y squared, because y squared is already in the denominator. Okay? There we go. That's one way to do it. Now, you should be pausing and playing through this. If you haven't been doing that, you're not watching this video correctly here. You should be interacting, pausing, playing, rewinding, and all that. So keep that in mind. Okay, you just don't sit there and take notes. You pause, play, rewind, and interact. All right? So you can actually do something on your own. I'm looking for like terms here. So I see the 2 first, x to the negative 3 plus or times x to the fourth is x, just x, because negative 3 plus 4 is 1. My other like terms, y to the negative 4th times y to the 4th. That is y to the negative 4 plus 4, y to the 0 power. And here I got to raise everything to the negative 1 power, so 2 to the negative 1 times x to the 0. 0 times 1 is 0 times negative 1 is 0. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, so y to the negative 2. Simplify a little bit. 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's 1. That's 1. So what do we have? We have x left in the numerator divided by y to the negative 2. This shifts up top, and I simplify it to x times y squared. And there we go. Okay. Now, if that was too fast, well, rewind it, guys, and listen to it again. Get good. Okay? Just takes a lot of practice, that's all. Okay, x cubed times x to the 4th. Let's see, I've got 2 times 2 is 4. X cubed times x to the 4th is x to the 7th. Y cubed times y to the 0. Well, first of all, y to the 0 is 1, so I just have a y cubed here. And I have 2y times x cubed. Simplify a little bit. 2 into 4 is 2. And then I got to simplify a little bit here. Let's see. 2 divided, let me see, 2. I got 2 first. X to the 7th divided by x cubed. Okay, look here. And here, divide. So x cubed divided by x to the 7th divided by x cubed is x to the 4th, because you subtract the exponents. Y cubed divided by y is y squared. Now, last step, you just take everything to the 4th. 2 to the 4th, x to the 4th to the 4th, y squared to the 4th. You get 16, x to the 16th times y to the 8th. And there we go. All right. Last one. We got to cube everything here first. So here, look at this. You got to cube everything. So let's see, x to the negative 4 raised to the 3rd is x to the negative 12th times y to the 12th. And then you got to bring this over. You got x times y to the negative 1, all divided by y to the negative 1. Simplifying a little bit, what do we have? We have x times x to the negative 12, so it would be x to the negative 12 plus 1 times y to the 12th. Remember, there's an exponent of 1 there, so negative 12 plus 1 is what I wrote down. That's x to the negative 11 times y to the 12th. This shifts down below. All right, remember this is in the numerator. So y to the 12th divided by x to the 11th. Remember, you want to write your answers using positive exponents only. All right, positive exponents only. Now remember also that this is not the only way to do it. This is just how I was thinking about it. Can you do it different ways? And yes, of course you can. But you're going to get to the same result. Okay? So again, pause, play, and rewind. Listen to the video again if you need to. Do your best, and I'll see you in my next lesson. This is Mr. Ames. We're signing off. See you then.